Our story continues when a man called Dong-gu comes to Ha-jian's school and shocks him that he is his father, hugging and telling him he looks like him. Ha-jian still doesn't understand as his mom told him that he didn't have a dad, and when he asks him how he knew that he has a kid he pretends to be busy, answering his phone. Evading Ha-jian's question, he leaves and gives his business card to Ha-jian. It turns out his father is CEO for global firm. In the car, Dong-gu calls someone and tells him that he did as he asked him. Meanwhile poor Ha-jian still doesn't understand what happens, and he is totally immersed in his thoughts. As for Ju-won, she is in her classroom, and still received loving letters from other girls to pass on to the boys, San-ha and Ha-jian. She notices that her name is written on one of these letters. She gets surprised she receives a love confession letter, but the message is signed by X, not his real name. San-ha passes by her. She brags that she has important news. He misunderstands and thinks she wants to brag about her exam results. On the bus she gives him girl's love letter, and asks him what do you feel receiving love letters. He shocks her that he reads the letter if the punctuation's decent. Eventually she admits that she received one, but she doesn't show it to him. Sanya asks her to focus on her study. She gets her head out of the bus window. The driver yells at her that she could crack her head. Meanwhile Sanya remembers his sister's incident. However she apologizes. He keeps upset. At the basketball hall, Ha-jian is distracted. His friend consoles him that it's okay because his birth father suddenly popped up. Meanwhile Dal is nearby. She overhears their exchange conversation and she hides from him. At Zhang Jae's restaurant, Ju-won tells her father she decides she will not go to college since her grades are not good, and she will help him in the restaurant instead. He tries to convince her that college is funnier than helping him in the restaurant. Elsewhere Ha-jun on the bus and he is immersed in his thoughts about his father. Eventually he arrives home and their neighbor says that he and Mr. Zhang Jae look similar because they spend around 10 years together. At dinner Ju-won and Sanya are bickering as usual. They notice that Ha-jian is distracted. Later he tells Sanya about his dad and he is excited. Sanya tells him to be careful and do the paternity test and tells his aunt. At school Ju-won and Dal are trying to figure out who is Master X, who wrote her first love letter. Sanya accompanies Ha-jian to meet his aunt to tell her about his father. She gets so anxious. She warns him not to see that man again. She destroys all his dreams, narrates how his father was scoundrel. When he knew about his mom pregnancy he wants her to abort the pregnancy, and after a while he married a young daughter for a rich family. Ha-jian suppresses his feelings and says he will not meet him again. Meanwhile he is completely heartbroken inside. Sanya offers him juice and tells him they have to know who is this man and what he wants from Hee-jeon whilst Sanya remembers his mom who left him, thinking she left because she hated him. Meanwhile Ju-won feels bored because the boys left her alone. Dal visits Ju-won in her house. Ju-won shows her Ha-jian's room. Meanwhile Sanya encourages Ha-jian to meet his father to know his intention. Ha-jian is very frank as he asks Dong-gu if he wants his organs. Dong-gu opens up that he has everything, money and buildings, but he wants an heir to inherit his wealth. Ha-jian refuses and the boys leave. At the neighborhood, Dong-gu visits Zhang Jae's restaurant. He is so arrogant, telling him that he is Ha-jian's father. He feels insulted since Ha-jian's father gives him money to let Ha-jian go to America with Dong Ji-yu. Ju-won and Dal go to the restaurant and see Dong Ji-yu there. Dal recognizes him. They leave and run into Sanya and Ha-jian where Dal tells Ha-jian that she saw his father in the restaurant. All of them comes to the restaurant, but Dong Ji-yu was gone. Later, a conversation takes place between Hee-jeon and Jeongji, which is full of tears and feelings. Jeongji expresses that Hee-jeon is his son, and Hee-ji opens up that he was afraid that he will send him with his father. Finally Ju-won knows about his father and tells Sanya that Ha-jian cannot leave. Meanwhile Ha-jian is hearing their conversation and cries again. Dong-gu arrives in the hotel where he resides temporarily, and bumps into Sanya's mom, but because he is arrogant, he leaves without an apology. Zhang Jae tells Sanha's father that he will hire a lawyer if Dong-gu will take Ha-jian. Jump to Ju-won. She shows the boys her love letter from X. Ha-jian bickers with her that it may be a scam. Meanwhile Sanya is upset.